Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good day. If you guys could go ahead and hit that subscribe, like, and that bell button for me, it does really help me out a lot, and I very much do appreciate it. So today I'm going to be attempting the whole roasted chicken recipe by binging with Babish, or as he now goes by, the Babish Culinary Universe. This is one of my favorite YouTube channels, spanning back like nearly a decade, give or take. They have a lot of awesome content and whatnot. I'll go ahead and include a link to the original video. If you guys enjoy this video, then I'm sure you guys will really love that video as well. If you guys have already seen the original video, or if you guys go ahead and watch it, you'll notice that I do some things differently in my version of it, but I'll go ahead and specify just so that it's clear. And I did some things that I necessarily would not recommend, but I'll go ahead and give some better alternatives to my mistakes, just like I had mentioned before. Here's a little cameo of the One Piece mug. This was a gift my sister got me for my birthday. It's one of like the little thermal mugs when it gets hot. The colors, the pictures appear. It's pretty cool. Comment down below if you're waiting for the dub of the new One Piece Egghead arc, just like me. I'm more of a dub guy. I can't really stand the sub. But that's just my preference. Let me know what you guys think if you feel differently about it. This is a little trick I do with a wet paper towel. If you have a cutting board that likes to slide around a lot, go ahead and put a little wet napkin or paper towel under it. And you can see it's kind of bowed a little bit, so it doesn't really sit flat, but that does the trick. You can see I was trying to move it around, and it's not moving anywhere. So starting off with the whole chicken, so this is the first thing that I did differently. In the original video, he had cut out the chicken spine with some scissors, and he just cut along the sides of it. But for me, I'm more of a chicken skin lover. If you agree, then I would recommend giving this a shot. This was one of the things I did differently that I would recommend, although it does take a little bit more effort. So starting out, what I did first was I cut a slit down the center of the spine all the way down, and then I just take my knife carefully and then go carve around the spine, kind of lifting it up just to get a little better access. And just take your time with this. You're gonna have to cut through some bones, and it's like I said, it takes a little bit more effort, not a crazy amount more, but in my opinion, saving the skin is worth it. And I'm not a big fan of wasting food either. So a little pro tip here I would recommend is just to make sure you grab your sharpest knife. If none of your knives are that sharp, maybe try and sharpen it if you have something to do so. Otherwise, this process will definitely be harder than it needs to be. And so, yeah, having a sharp knife is definitely key while doing this. And then just being patient and taking your time is also very important because the end result is worth it. If you really want to, you could go ahead and skip this step. I would recommend you do it just because when you butterfly the chicken like this, then you'll get a lot more surface area exposed to the heat at once. And so it allows the baking process to be much, much faster. And just overall, you get way more crispiness on the chicken. So you can see right here, I'm pointing to the center of the breastbone. And this is a key step if you want the chicken to sit flat when you turn it around. Just go ahead and grab some strong scissors and then just put a little snip in it. And now you can see you could open it up a lot more. And then when you turn it around, it sits very, very nice and flat with all of that chicken exposed up top. So now I'm going to go ahead and transfer the butterfly chicken over to a pan covered in some foil just so that I can go ahead and salt brine it. And this is the key step that differentiates this roast chicken from a typical roast chicken. Now you can see as I lift up the chicken, you can see some little bits of fat and skin on the bottom that if you really want to, if you're a bit of a picky eater, you could go ahead and trim that stuff off. But me personally, I don't mind too much. I like the little bits of extra crispy skin and the fat I'm not too partial about. I'll just, if it's too much, I could just take it off. This is also the first big mistake that I made using granulated salt as opposed to something like kosher salt or rock salt. It's okay if you only have access to this, but use way less than what I'm using here. Otherwise, you could potentially run into the risk of oversalting the chicken. If you are going to use granulated salt like I have here, I would just recommend just getting a little thin coating of salt all around the chicken skin. Don't worry about piling it on too much, kind of like I did. Now, while that rests in the fridge overnight, I'm just going to go ahead and get started on the herb butter mixture that we're going to use under the chicken skin as well as a little bit on top. So starting off with a little bit less than a quarter cup of butter, then I'm going to go ahead and add about a spoonful of beef tallow, and then I'm just adding some generic Italian seasoning. You could get this pretty much at any store. And then from there, I'm just adding a little bit of chili pepper. This is a little Indian specialty. You could use like cayenne or paprika if you want, but it's not going to add quite the same amount of spice. Then I'm just going to dump in a good amount of black pepper. You'll notice I'm not adding salt because from the salt brine overnight, the chicken will be plenty salty. So you don't want to add any excess salt. And then just go ahead and give that a nice good mix. Make sure you get everything well incorporated. This is also one of the steps where you could personalize the chicken to your own taste. You could add some garlic powder, like I kind of wish I had. I feel like that would have been pretty good. Or onion powder, or any other seasonings you like. You can see that's looking pretty good there. Now, oh, here's Donna just taking a little sniff, little baby Donna. And so now here's the chicken after brining overnight. I'm just gonna go ahead and scrape off all the excess salt, just so that we don't gotta deal with the over saltiness like I had mentioned before. Now, this could be a little bit of a tedious process, and that could be avoided by if you use kosher salt or rock salt, like I had mentioned before. It's just a lot easier to get it all off as opposed to the fine granulated salt. This just takes a lot more time and effort just to make sure you get every last bit of excess salt that you could possibly get off. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and transfer this to a wire rack pan. And you can see me here trying to take my time, get the shot centered. It was just me today, so it was a little tricky getting all the good shots. And so apologies if everything's not perfect. Like here, I wish the shot was a little bit higher up, showing my hands. So right now, I'm just kind of breaking through the membrane from the top of the chicken breast to open up the cavity in between the chicken skin and the chicken breast itself. And then once you've got that cavity opened up, you can just go ahead and take a scoop of that butter mixture we made earlier, drop it up inside there, and then I usually just do this by hand. I'll go ahead and kind of massage it down towards the bottom of the chicken breast just so that it doesn't just all melt and come out the one side. It'll kind of get full coverage over the whole chicken breast, and then just go ahead and repeat that on the other side of the chicken breast. Now, this is probably one of my favorite parts of making this recipe, and I just find it kind of interesting and fun spreading the butter underneath the chicken skin, as it's not typical to most cooking techniques that are commonly used, and it really, really just takes the chicken breast to a whole nother level. At this point, I had tried to open up the a cavity for the skin on the chicken thighs, but it was very tricky. I was trying to get it from the area kind of underneath the chicken wings where you could see right now, but it was very tricky and it just felt like the chicken skin might tear. And so I just decided against that. And besides, the chicken thighs typically don't need much more moisture anyway. And so I just decided against it. And so I just grabbed the rest of the butter mixture and just started to spread it along all over the outside, just getting it nice and flavorful. Here you could kind of see me just fighting off Mikey. That boy's a little fiend. He loves messing with me while I'm making food, just trying to make things difficult for me. But anyway, at this point, I'm just scooping up the remaining butter by hand, pretty much trying to get it all out of the bowl and just get it all applied to the chicken. I like doing this by hand. After all, I'm just cooking for myself and my family. If you don't want to use your hands, that's fine, no big deal. But that's just my personal preference, doing it by hand. There you can see I just tucked the chicken wing tips under the breast, and this just helps prevent burning while it's baking. And speaking of burning, so this was before the chicken was fully cooked, about 30 to 35 minutes in. I had taken it out just because I noticed the top of the chicken breast and a little bit on the thighs and legs, you could see it was just starting to burn a little bit. I have a gas oven, and so it gets very, very hot, especially up towards the top. And I had this on the middle rack. And so I had decided to pull it out just to show you guys that. And then I just inserted it back in on the bottom rack of the oven instead, just to help prevent burning on the top. After about another 10 minutes or 12 minutes or so, the chicken was fully cooked. I had my meat thermometer in there. It read at about 165 to 170, which was a little higher than I would have liked. I would have preferred to take it out closer to 160 and then just let it finish cooking outside of the oven, get up to that 165 in the breast. And oh, there's a little cameo from Leo. That's your guys' first time seeing him. That's our big boy. And then now you can see at this point, the chicken is looking beautiful, nice and crispy all over. This recipe really just gets the chicken skin to another level of crispiness like you've never had before. After you take it out of the oven, you want to give it at least a good 5 minutes minimum, up to 10 or even 15 minutes. And that really is just a key part of cooking any meats, just to help prevent any excess loss of moisture, which you really don't want. You want your meat to be nice and juicy. Now at this point, I'm just gonna start cutting it up, getting ready for serving. And so I just start by separating the chicken leg and thigh from the breast. And this is very easy. There's really nothing connecting this at this point. You just kind of gotta follow your knife along the bottom of the breast and the top of the thigh, and then you just go ahead and rinse and repeat the other side. Again, very straightforward and simple doing this. Over here you can see I had a little bit of excess skin that was making it a little tricky. I couldn't quite see what I was getting hung up on, and so I just moved my knife to the other side and then just got it sliced through. Very nice and simple. And at this point, I'm just separating the chicken leg from the thighs. And then this part is probably the trickiest part, but if you've done this once or twice before, it's very simple. You just kind of follow the crease down to the joint, and then you just kind of press the knife through the joint, and then just continue to slice through the rest of the meat and skin, and then you're all good. If you've seen the original video, you might notice that I skipped on making the gremolata. But for me personally, I passed on doing that just because I want to maintain the maximum crispiness of the skin. And at this point, you can see the wings really just pull off with very little to no resistance. But again, speaking on the gremolata, if you want it, you can make it. It's not going to affect it too much. The skin is so crispy that you could afford to add a little bit of sauce on top. But for me personally, I just love the next level crispiness. And then you can see I just separated the two chicken breasts, slicing straight down. And then I cut the chicken breasts themselves in half just so that we could get two different pieces out of it. One smaller piece and then one bigger piece with the chicken wing drum attached to it. And again, I just want to reiterate, it's very important to have a strong and sharp knife just because cutting through pieces like this, you're cutting through a little bit of bone. And so if you have a dull knife or a weak knife, there's a chance that you might struggle too much and you might just start kind of shredding apart the meat rather than just getting a nice clean cut through like you want to. And you can see all of the herbs and everything under the chicken breast skin, which just adds a whole nother layer of moisture and flavor under there. And then here, this had me kind of laughing a little bit. I just rearranged the chicken pieces kind of how it was before, kind of spread out. Now at this point, this is where you see the benefit of butterflying the chicken because it cooks so much faster than a typical roast chicken, and the juiciness of the breast by cooking it faster is just almost impossible to achieve without butterflying the chicken. This is a great little recipe. I hope you guys give it a shot. If so, let me know how it turns out. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing as well as sharing this video. It really helps me out a lot and I do appreciate it. Anyway, thank you guys very much and have a good one.